You ever been in a situation where everything looked normal, just another day at your favorite cafe, until something completely shocking happens right in front of your eyes? That's exactly what today's story is about. Stick with me because by the time we reach the end, you'll get the full truth behind what really happened when a so-called VIP customer did something that crossed every line of basic decency and sparked a moment that none of us saw coming. In this video, we're diving deep into a real-life situation that turned ugly, fast. A high-profile guest walks in, acting like they own the place. The staff is hustling, being polite, handling the morning rush, but then, without warning, this person throws a hot cup of coffee right at a young waiter's chest. Just like that, no warning, no apology. And the worst part? What happened next revealed something much darker beneath the surface. Now, before you jump to conclusions, there's a twist in this story that's going to flip your whole perspective. See, people nearby saw it all go down, but instead of turning away, one person stood up and made a move that changed everything. And here's the wild part. The reason this so-called VIP thought they could get away with it. That's where the real story starts. We're going to talk about power, entitlement, hidden racism, and how one moment of cruelty exposed a side of society we don't talk about enough. But don't worry, this isn't just another viral drama clip. This is about justice, courage, and the one decision that turned humiliation into something powerful. And you know why you need to stay until the end? Because the answer to what truly happened, and why this one act caused such a ripple effect, isn't what you think. I know, a lot of stories get hyped up online, but trust me, this one's real, raw, and way deeper than just spilled coffee. If you've ever worked in customer service, seen injustice up close, or just wondered why some people feel they can treat others like trash, you're going to feel this one. This isn't just about what happened in the cafe. It's about what it exposed in all of us, so stay with me, because the next few minutes are going to uncover something that hits harder than expected. Right when you think the story's done, that's when the unexpected hits. And it changes everything. Right after the coffee splashed, the whole cafe seemed to freeze for a moment. The waiter, still standing behind the counter, blinked, drenched in hot liquid, his expression a mix of shock and disbelief. The VIP customer, wearing a smug smile that made every eye in the room harden with disgust, brushed off the moment like it was no big deal. But you could feel the tension hanging thick in the air like a storm ready to burst. People whispered, some gasped, others just stared, unsure if they should step in or keep their distance. That's when you start to realize this isn't just about spilled coffee or a bad temper. There's something deeper going on here. The kind of story that's been brewing far before today and will ripple long after this moment fades. Let me take you back a bit, because understanding how this escalated means knowing who these players are and why the stakes are way higher than you might guess. The cafe itself is in a busy part of the city, known for its friendly service and a melting pot of customers from every background. The staff? Hardworking people juggling multiple shifts, many of them just trying to make ends meet or save up for school or family. The waiter, in particular, was a favorite among regulars, not because he stood out in flashy ways, but because he was quietly kind, polite even when the days were rough, always respectful no matter how people treated him. You could tell he took pride in his job, despite the challenges. On the other side of this scene was the VIP customer, someone who regularly comes into this neighborhood, but always acts like a king above the crowd. Loud phone calls, dismissive gestures toward employees, and a way of speaking that made it clear they expected special treatment. Many staff had stories about this person, how they'd send drinks back with impossible complaints or demand freebies, just because they could. But nothing like this had ever happened before, at least not openly. What really made things worse, though, was the underlying reason for the coffee being thrown. The customer's outburst wasn't just about bad service or a mistake. It was fueled by something far uglier, an openly racist comment aimed at the waiter right before the cup flew through the air. And that's what flipped the mood from shock to outrage. In today's world, where everyone is watching, where every act of discrimination can light a firestorm online. Moments like these aren't just isolated incidents. They become symbols, rallying cries, points of reckoning. But here's where the story thickens. Not everyone saw this the same way. Some customers quietly agreed with the VIP's attitude, others were too scared to speak up, and a few felt torn between defending the waiter and keeping peace. The cafe became a microcosm of bigger societal divides, tensions that are bubbling just under the surface in so many places right now. And then came the unexpected. Someone in the cafe, a regular who'd usually keep to themselves, suddenly stepped forward. This person's reaction wasn't just about calling out the behavior, but sparked a chain of events no one could have predicted. Without revealing too much just yet, what followed was a clash that exposed hidden biases, power, dynamics, and personal histories none of the bystanders knew about. The VIP's arrogance met with an unyielding challenge, and suddenly, the whole atmosphere shifted from quiet discomfort to a battle for dignity and respect. But let's zoom out a bit and look at the key characters through their eyes. The waiter, for instance, carries a story of his own, one filled with struggles to rise above prejudice, dreams of a better future, and the quiet burden of being judged by skin color in a city that often pretends it doesn't matter. Every day, he faces microaggressions and the invisible weight of stereotypes, and today's incident wasn't the first time he encountered discrimination. Yet, despite the hardships, he has this steady resolve, a hope that someday things will change, even if just a little. Meanwhile, the VIP customer isn't a simple villain. Behind the entitlement and arrogance is someone wrestling with their own demons, maybe insecurity wrapped in privilege, or someone shaped by a lifetime of unchecked attitudes passed down from family or society. Their actions may be shocking, but they reflect a broader problem, a systemic issue that plays out in countless encounters every day, in places just like this cafe. Understanding this complexity doesn't excuse the behavior, but it paints a fuller picture of how deeply these conflicts are woven into our lives. And then there's the mysterious regular who intervened, a person whose background is a puzzle. They've got connections to the community that run deep, maybe some untold history with the cafe or the VIP. Their motivations aren't crystal clear yet, and as the story unfolds, you'll see how their own past and personal battles add another layer of intrigue. Are they a hero, or do they have their own reasons for stepping into this mess? This ambiguity keeps you guessing and adds suspense to every scene. To add to the complexity, the cafe manager, caught between keeping peace and protecting staff, struggles with what to do next. Reporting the incident means risking bad publicity, but silence feels like betrayal. Then there's a local activist who hears about the event and sees a chance to push for broader change, but even their involvement introduces new tensions and unexpected consequences. The ripple effect spreads beyond the cafe walls, touching neighbors, social media, and city officials. What starts as a single moment of cruelty begins to unravel a network of connections and conflicts that nobody anticipated. This isn't just a story about one bad day or a viral video. It's about power, identity, courage, and the messy, complicated fight for respect in a world that's still divided in so many ways. Every person involved is carrying something we don't fully see yet, and the choices they make in the coming hours and days will shape not only their lives, but the whole community around them. So stick around, because the twists are just starting. There's a lot more beneath the surface, and as we peel back the layers, you're going to meet people who challenge your assumptions and maybe even change how you see things. And just when you think you figured it out, something else will drop that makes you question everything all over again. This story is far from over, and the truth waiting at the end might just surprise you. The moment the coffee splashed, the ripple didn't just disrupt the cafe, it triggered a chain reaction that no one could have predicted. A spark that lit a powder keg of emotions and secrets carefully buried beneath everyday civility. As the stunned waiter wiped at his soaked shirt, the VIP's smirk didn't fade. If anything, it grew wider, as though daring anyone to challenge the brazen disrespect. But then something unexpected happened. An elderly woman, a regular with a quiet presence, raised her voice, not with anger, but a calm, cutting accusation that echoed across the room. Her words pierced the silence like a sharp blade. "This isn't just bad manners. It's a hate crime." That statement hung in the air, heavy and undeniable, pulling every eye to the VIP, whose face momentarily faltered before hardening again. The cafe, once a neutral space of mingling and murmurs, transformed into a battleground of unspoken truths and unresolved tensions. The staff exchanged glances, the customers shifted in their seats, and the atmosphere thickened with a collective reckoning nobody was prepared for. This incident wasn't just an isolated flare-up. It was the breaking point after years of silent endurance by the staff and the community. The waiter, quietly resilient until now, felt a surge inside him, a mix of humiliation and newfound resolve. But the VIP's entourage, small but influential, immediately stepped in, demanding apologies, threatening to leave bad reviews, and warning of consequences that could jeopardize the cafe's reputation. This sudden pressure exposed a disturbing reality. In the world of social influence and online ratings, power often speaks louder than right. The manager, torn between defending his team and protecting the business, hesitated, unsure which side to take in a fight that was quickly becoming about more than just one bad customer. The regulars, too, faced their own battles, some terrified of retaliation, others itching to stand up but afraid to be the next target. The cafe, once a sanctuary for many, was now a hotbed of fear, courage, and unresolved social fractures. Meanwhile, the mysterious regular who had intervened, the quiet figure who many overlooked, revealed a side few had seen. With steady eyes and calm authority, they confronted the VIP's group, demanding accountability not only for the act of throwing coffee, but for the hateful words that preceded it. This unexpected defiance shocked the VIP's entourage, unaccustomed to being challenged by someone without influence or status. But what the cafe didn't know yet was that this regular held a deep connection to the VIP, a tangled past filled with grudges and secrets that had festered far beyond the walls of this neighborhood. As the story unfolded, it became clear that the coffee incident was merely the surface of a long-simmering conflict, and that the cafe had unwittingly become the stage for a dramatic showdown between past betrayals and present justice. In the days that followed, social media exploded. The cafe's security cameras, which caught the entire event, were leaked online, sparking viral outrage across platforms like TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter. Hashtags demanding justice for the waiter trended nationwide, sparking conversations about racism, entitlement, and the fragile balance of power between service workers and customers. But amid the flood of support, there were also harsh critics accusing the cafe of exaggerating the event, others questioning the waiter's account, and some defending the VIP as a victim of a smear campaign. The polarization online mirrored the tensions in the cafe, turning a local incident into a national debate about respect, privilege, and accountability in everyday life. The staff felt the pressure mounting with every mention, while the waiter grappled with sudden fame he never wanted but couldn't escape. This viral attention brought reporters knocking, activists rallying, and even city officials involved, forcing the cafe into an unwanted spotlight and raising the stakes to an entirely new level. Meanwhile, back inside the cafe, the manager struggled to keep order, battling a surge of new customers drawn by curiosity and outrage, some coming to show support, others hoping to provoke. The staff, exhausted and emotionally drained, tried to maintain professionalism, but the underlying fear was palpable. The waiter, whose life had been quietly moving forward before this moment, now found himself at the center of a storm that threatened his job, his safety, and his dignity. He wrestled with doubts about whether speaking out was worth the price, while also feeling a powerful urge to reclaim his voice in a world that too often tried to silence people like him. His friends and family, watching from the sidelines, offered mixed advice, some urging caution, others demanding action. highlighting the complex web of personal and social dynamics entangled in this story. And then came the twist that no one saw coming. One evening, as the cafe closed and the last customers drifted away, a phone call arrived that shifted everything. It wasn't from the police, nor from the media, but from someone connected to the VIP customer, a person claiming to hold crucial information that could unravel the entire incident's true motive. This caller hinted at a hidden agenda, a secret dispute unrelated to the cafe, but entangled with old alliances and betrayals. The VIP's aggressive act, the caller said, was a smokescreen, a distraction from something far more serious threatening both the VIP's position and the community around them. Suddenly, the story exploded beyond coffee and insults, reaching into shadowy deals, long-standing grudges, and a struggle for influence that no one in the cafe could have imagined. The waiter, the manager, and the mysterious regular were no longer just players in a local confrontation. They were now caught in a web of secrets with consequences that could shake their world. Meanwhile, the local activist who had jumped into the fray saw an opportunity and a risk. Driven by a passionate desire for justice, they pushed for public hearings and legal investigations, rallying community members and gaining political allies. But as their campaign gained momentum, cracks appeared in their own past, revealing mistakes and controversies that opponents quickly seized upon to undermine the movement. This subplot added layers of complexity and tension, showing how even well-intentioned fights for change are often messy and fraught with setbacks. The activists' struggle mirrored the cafe's turmoil, a reminder that progress is never simple or guaranteed. Through it all, the cafe remained a crucible of conflict and courage, a place where personal stories collided with larger societal issues. Customers debated heatedly over coffee, neighbors whispered about loyalty and betrayal, and the staff navigated a minefield of emotions and expectations. The waiter, once the victim, began to discover unexpected allies, including some who had quietly faced similar discrimination but lacked his platform. Together, they formed a fragile coalition, balancing hope and fear, unity and division. Yet the looming question remained. What would happen when the VIP's hidden agenda fully surfaced? And how would the community respond when faced with the full truth? The answers were still out there, waiting to be uncovered, and the stakes had never been higher. So, if you thought this was just about a spilled cup of coffee, think again. This is a story about power, race, justice, and the fragile ties that bind us. It's about courage in the face of cruelty, about speaking out when silence seems easier, and about the unexpected ways people come together or fall apart when tested. And believe me, the next chapter will change everything you think you know. Stay tuned, because the real story is just beginning, and it's one you won't want to miss. The days following the coffee incident were a whirlwind of tension, emotion, and relentless pressure that felt like the entire world had condensed into the little cafe's worn tables and crowded booths. The waiter, who had once moved quietly through his shifts without drawing attention, was now a symbol, a reluctant hero to some and a target to others. The manager, caught between defending his staff and keeping the business afloat, faced daily crises that tested every ounce of his patience and leadership. The regular who had spoken up, the one many hadn't noticed before, had suddenly stepped into the light as an unexpected advocate, stirring conversations not just about one terrible act, but about the larger patterns of inequality and disrespect that too often go unnoticed in places like this. And at the center of it all was the VIP customer, whose entitlement had sparked a firestorm much bigger than anyone expected. As the social media storm grew, footage from the cafe's security cameras spread like wildfire, igniting debates about racism, privilege, and the power dynamics between customers and service workers. Hashtags demanding justice for the waiter trended nationwide, while critics argued over interpretations and motives. It was a heated battlefield where opinions clashed and emotions ran raw. The cafe, once just a neighborhood spot for morning coffee, had become a symbol of a broader struggle, one that resonated with people across the country. This was no longer a simple story about spilled coffee. It was about respect, dignity, and the courage to stand up when the world feels stacked against you. But beneath the viral outrage and public rallies, something far more complex was unfolding. A tangled web of past grievances and secret alliances that threatened to shatter everything. The mysterious phone call to the waiter revealed a hidden connection between the VIP customer and the regular who had spoken out. Two people bound by a history filled with betrayal, pain, and unfinished business. As the waiter dug deeper, encouraged by newfound allies among the staff and the community, he uncovered clues pointing to a long-standing feud that stretched beyond the cafe's walls and into powerful circles influencing the neighborhood's future. What began as a simple act of disrespect had exposed a simmering conflict over control, influence, and justice, bringing to light old wounds that many hoped would remain buried. Meanwhile, the local activist who had jumped into the fight for justice faced her own challenges. The movement she helped ignite gained strength, but cracks appeared as opponents dug into her past, trying to discredit her efforts. This struggle added layers to the story, showing how battles for change are rarely straightforward, and how even the most passionate warriors carry their own scars and vulnerabilities. Through this subplot, viewers saw the messy human side of activism, the courage, the setbacks, and the resilience required to keep pushing forward. It was a powerful reminder that standing up for what's right often means facing personal trials, as well as public ones. As tensions in the cafe and the community reached a boiling point, the VIP customer's true intentions began to surface. Far from the image of a careless, entitled troublemaker, the VIP was revealed to be a pawn in a larger game. Someone trying desperately to protect a secret that, if exposed, could topple influential figures and disrupt the balance of power in the neighborhood. The coffee incident, then, was a calculated distraction designed to divert attention from investigations into corruption, discrimination, and exploitation that had long gone unchecked. This twist stunned everyone. What seemed like an impulsive act was actually a piece of a much larger puzzle, a desperate move in a shadowy chess match where the stakes were far higher than anyone realized. The climax unfolded during a community meeting organized to address the escalating conflict. The cafe's staff, customers, activists, and local officials gathered in a packed hall filled with a mix of hope, anger, and uncertainty. The waiter, now a reluctant spokesperson, stood before the crowd, his voice steady as he recounted the story, not just of the coffee incident, but of the years of disrespect and injustice faced by those who work behind the scenes, unseen and unheard. The regular who had spoken up stepped forward, sharing her own story of resilience and connection to the VIP customer, revealing the painful history that had led to this moment. The activist spoke passionately about the need for systemic change, while the manager pleaded for unity and understanding, emphasizing that healing would require more than anger. It would require honesty, empathy, and action. Just when it seemed the meeting might descend into chaos, new evidence was presented, documents and testimonies that exposed corruption within local leadership and discrimination that had allowed the VIP customer's destructive behavior to go unchecked for years. The room fell silent as the weight of truth settled over everyone present. The cafe, once a simple backdrop to a personal conflict, had become the battleground for justice and change, forcing the community to confront uncomfortable realities and decide how to move forward together. But the final twist came when the VIP customer unexpectedly returned to the cafe, not with arrogance or defiance, but with an apology and a request to make amends. The VIP revealed a complicated truth. They had been manipulated by powerful figures, trapped in a cycle of fear and control, and were now ready to break free. This moment of vulnerability shocked many, but also opened the door for genuine dialogue and reconciliation. The waiter, the staff, and the community faced a choice, whether to hold on to anger and division or to embrace the difficult path toward healing and understanding. In the days that followed, the cafe became a symbol of resilience and transformation. The viral story that had started with spilled coffee evolved into a powerful narrative of courage, justice, and hope. The waiter's voice inspired others to speak out against injustice in their own lives. The community organized new initiatives to promote inclusivity and support for service workers. The local activist continued her fight with renewed strength and allies, while the manager worked tirelessly to rebuild trust and foster a welcoming environment. The VIP customer's journey from antagonist to ally reminded everyone that change is possible, even in the most unlikely circumstances. As the dust settled, the story left a lasting impression, not just because of what happened in that cafe, but because of what it revealed about human nature, society, and the power of standing up for what is right. It reminded us that behind every headline is a deeper story of struggle and strength, and that sometimes the most unexpected moments can spark the greatest change. This story isn't just about coffee or conflict. It's about the courage to face injustice, the complexity of human relationships, and the hope that even in the darkest moments, we can find light. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more stories of inner strength and resilience. Until next time, stay strong, stay brave, and never forget your worth.